I do feel like we have a community of trans women who are empowered today. We don't have to live in the shadows anymore.
Trans people definitely need to have their own voice within HIV. You know, we're trans, we're not Black gay men.
HIV hasn't stopped me from dating. It's not gonna stop me from getting married.
Oh, wow.
To step into this life, you have to have tough skin. It's about you standing in your truth.
It is okay to live with HIV. It is okay to be accepted.
This is who I am. I shouldn't be ashamed of that. I am a transgender woman. I'm so proud to say that.
When it comes to really having an impact on HIV as a threat to this community, the only way that we're going to move beyond it is really by working together.
We're finally on the forefront. You're seeing transgender shows everywhere. Like, we're finally on the forefront, and we need to take that platform and really use it. Our stories make an impact, whether we see the results right away or not. They're making an impact, and we have to continue to get everyone to understand this community better.
Trans people definitely need to have their own voice within HIV. You know, we're trans, we're not Black gay men.
And we're starting that work here, right? We are. We have this opportunity to really speak with each other and get real. We know that HIV impacts so many of our lives, right? Is this something that is well known and understood among trans women in your communities?
I definitely think it's not.
To be honest, in my own community, the conversation isn't happening. To be Black and trans, knowing that we're disproportionately affected by HIV, and for people to still think that, you know, it's not like a necessary conversation, like, it's completely crazy. Completely crazy.
I think that people have this false sense of security when it comes to like HIV. I didn't realize it was an issue for me personally until the first person that I knew living with HIV disclosed to me. And it just made it personal. It made it close.
When I came to the conclusion that HIV was an issue that impacted me, and I realized that so many of my friends were positive. Recently, 3 of my friends have died because of HIV complications. It's dark. It's a really dark area, and I think that ignorance is most of the time like the perpetrator.
On my teenage years, I was naive, ignorant. I was not educated properly. I was not brought up with making sense of a lot of things. Someone to teach me a couple of things like this is how to use a condom, how to protect myself, with the proper advice, with how to prevent me from getting infected.
And why aren't trans people having these conversations in communities like yours or communities, you know, where all of us come from? You know, why are these conversations not taking place?
I don't think we really feel safe talking about that because we feel like we're adding to the stigma of ourselves when we talk about that with each other. Like in our own community, I don't feel like we had that conversation where we talk with each other, like, this is what HIV is, this is what it can do, this is what you can do to protect yourself against these things.
Just the fact that we're trans, and because of how we get criticized on the street, how we get laughed at, they take us like we're a joke, like we're a clown. They don't take us serious. So it's fear, it's other people finding out, it's embarrassment and it's shame. Sometimes we just don't wanna go see doctors, don't wanna engage in medical care, don't wanna talk about the HIV itself because it's so fearful.
These are real things that we just need to talk about. Whether we have fear talking about them or not, it's the importance of talking about it to make it okay.
I want to be able to talk about it. I want to be able to change the narrative, and I want to be able to have agency to be able to say, these are the things that happen to me, and that nobody can be able to like say or speak for me.
As almost coming into 30, that I shouldn't care what people think about me. I have been living with this for 12 years. I've been healthy for 12 years. This is a part of who I am. And if I'm going to stand in my truth, I need to stand in my entire truth. And so I feel very empowered to do that.
I myself suffered from my own internalized transphobia of myself. Learning to accept the word transgender to me was so hard because often in my past I ran away from it because I saw the stigma and I didn't want to identify that way. And so I kept running.
Definitely, the self-love is probably one of like the hardest things for me. Like, just walking around, I'm 6'3", and walking around just being happy in my skin is one of the most toughest things to do. Everywhere I go, there's always like, oh, that's a man. Oh, you're too tall to be a woman, and you're this and you're that, and it really bothers me sometimes because I don't care how successful you get or whatever. There's nothing like loving yourself.
So, how does all of that play itself out, though? I want to get us back to the risk for HIV. How does it connect back to the risk?
A lot of times our self-esteem gets lowered if we're not a part of the cis heteronormative community. We get beat up so much that we don't have much of a spirit to fight or to even pay attention to certain things.
We're constantly walking around dealing with trauma. How do you expect people to be healthy? How do you expect people to advocate for themselves and use a condom? How do you expect people to know the difference between a healthy relationship and an unhealthy relationship when every day that we wake up and we walk out of the house, we're dealing with that or we're being re-traumatized every day?
Let's just be real. There's going to be a lot of places that's going to automatically discriminate against us. And so you have to understand we have to have something to fall back on. We have to survive. Not everyone has a good job like you and is successful. And so we have to be mindful of that.
From the mind of someone who has been a sex worker, who participated in survival sex to make sure that I was, I had a place to stay and food to eat. I did not want to hear anything about STIs and HIV from someone who I knew thought that they were better than who I was.
It saddens me, it makes me sad that we can't talk about that with each other because we feel like that's going to be stigmatized against us.
I think that people who are stigmatized often, use this notion that oh, I'm not as bad as she is, in order to make themselves feel better about who they are, right? So, but do you think that goes back to that kind of internalized transphobia?
I think when you can say, oh, well, that's not my situation can't possibly be as bad as that because this is who I am, this is what I do, at least I don't snort coke or whatever. If you can find something that you deem lower in another person, it definitely boosts your self-esteem for the next couple seconds.
I want to go back to the if they know my tea part. I want to go back there, girl, because, how do they know your tea?
Me being transgender, I'm almost 6 foot, I think. I have broad shoulders, but for whatever reason.
You're a beautiful woman.
Right, that's what they say. But sometimes I don't have to disclose. Other times I have to let them know, hey, I'm a woman, but I'm a very different kind of woman.
I think it all starts at the beginning. Before even starting a serious relationship, being honest with the person who I'm gonna date. And the hardest part is not so much the gender part, the identity part, as transgender is disclosing HIV. Revealing that I'm HIV positive, that will be a harder part for me to do. And the reason is that he's gonna ask me questions, how did you get it? How long have you had it? Are you really ill? Are you gonna die? Am I at risk? That's the hardest part for me to explain to my partner. He might understand, he might not.
That's always going to be like when you meet someone and if you feel that y'all are going to go a long way, that's always the big obstacle that you have to get over. Or, some people like to wait up until the time they're a little more intimate. And it's just like, oh my gosh, are they gonna leave me? What's gonna happen? And sometimes when you really, really like somebody, you don't want them to go. But on the other side of the fence, you have to understand something. If that person does not like that about you, they're not worth keeping to begin with.
Being a trans person was more of an issue in my dating life than having HIV. I know how it felt for me to not be aware of someone else's HIV status and having that choice kind of taken from me. And I don't want to put anybody else through that situation.
I feel like it depends upon the nature of the situation, because I feel like responsibility for your health should be yours and yours alone, just to completely honestly. Now, if in fact you're in a relationship with someone, I feel like that's a completely different situation, and you will want that person to know where you're at. People have to start taking responsibility for their own health and stop blaming people for, their own situation.
With all the prevention tools that we have, why might a trans woman with HIV choose to not disclose her status or wait to do so?
There's several reasons behind it. My case was, in order for me to speak up or to be comfortable or to be able to even say that I was positive, sometimes it's not that it's approval, but it will start within home. If I'm able to communicate with parents or sister or somebody in my family that will support me and that will say to me, it's okay, I have your back. I support you 100% and I'm gonna walk with you every step of the way. If you get shut down immediately by the family, then right away rejection kicks in. I hid it for so many years. I put myself in a place where I wanted to hide it as much as I can.
I know for me personally, my HIV status was something sacred. If we were not intimate, if we were not in a relationship, I felt if you were not like my family or someone of that nature or whatever, it wasn't your business.
I feel like disclosure of anything about our personal lives is so immensely personal. I think for myself, the disclosure of being trans, I had to learn how to accept that within myself first. And then from that place, I learned that it's okay to just be and just talk about it, because I've accepted it in myself, and now I know that nobody can ever bring me down because I know who I am. This is my life. I take charge of it. I write my own destiny. This is my path. This is my book. None of your pages are added. Thank you. Bye.
So Bree and V, you're both in committed relationships. Congratulations, girls. So was HIV something that came up with your partner? And if so, what was that conversation like?
After we started communicating with each other and before we actually met, we had the discussion because we were aware, and especially with the work I do, and that we needed to have this conversation about HIV and getting tested before we did anything sexual at all, because our health is very important to us, and we just wanted to know our statuses before we got serious.
So social media helped you in being able to kind of have that conversation.
Communication, even through email, through text, through FaceTime, that's what helped us to have this conversation, to make us feel comfortable enough to ask each other these important life questions for each other.
I met my partner last summer. We were both interning at the same organization, and I had spent the whole summer talking about being a board member of the Positive Women's Network and talking about being a woman living with HIV. So I was under the impression that once we started to develop feelings for each other, that was something that he knew walking into the relationship. And we were talking on the phone, and I was like, yeah, as a woman living with HIV, and he was like, what? And I freaked out. I had never freaked out that much in my life. It was not something that I hide from many of my partners, but it's a very sensitive topic. And he was like, is that your way of telling me? And I'm like, I thought you knew. And he was like, I mean, I don't really care. Like, it doesn't change the fact that, like, how I feel about you or whatever. And we're just a couple. Like, HIV hasn't stopped me from dating in the past, and it's not gonna stop me from getting married. And I do believe that HIV shouldn't take up as much space as it does in a lot of situations.
Does PrEP play a role in your interactions with any of your potential partners?
Okay, so let me sit up. PrEP is pre-exposure prophylaxis, which is basically keeping you from getting HIV, which is, another shield in your arsenal. I think that when I talk to people about PrEP, like especially guys, their first question is like, what the hell is PrEP? I ain't never heard of, And so, having to break that down, it was like, are you serious? They done did that already? It's crazy. Because when you explain to them, you don't have to catch HIV.
Does PrEP make you feel empowered to make, to make decisions around who you're having sex with?
I love the option of PrEP because it makes me feel like I'm protected from something that has stigmatized my community. It's a big plus for me because to be able to know that I take PrEP and take it faithfully, that I don't necessarily have to worry about getting HIV. It doesn't protect from other STIs, but HIV is one of the, one of the biggest diseases among Black trans women. And to know that I am protected.
How did you hear about PrEP?
I was speaking among some friends, and they were telling me about what PrEP is, what PrEP does. And I was like, okay, so break it down. What exactly is PrEP? And so they broke it down and told me, you can take this pill and never get HIV. And I was like, never? What's the numbers on that? You know what I'm saying? What's the percentage? And it's 98%. And I was like, that's amazing. So I was pondering it because, I had questions about it and also being on HRT, hormone replacement therapy. And once I found out from my doctor, there are no negative side effects to mixing those two medications. I was all for it.
For those of you that are taking antiretroviral therapy, do you feel that being on ARVs and reducing your viral load, does that help you in making, decisions about your sexual life? Blossom?
If your viral load is undetectable, the chances of you passing HIV is very slim. But some of us tend to get a little excited about that. But I feel like it's important that we still making sure that we're using condoms and kind of getting the education and stuff out there.
I started taking my antiretroviral medication 2 weeks before I had my next doctor's appointment. And at that point, I was told I was undetectable. And I was like, 2 weeks, medication, that's supposed to be saving your life can work in 2 weeks. And I continued to take it and I saw that my viral load was undetectable and my CD4 count just kept going and going and going to the point to where it was past the thousands. So for me, I think that there are life-saving.
I'm HIV positive right now and I've been positive for so many years. I'm taking care of myself, I'm on medication, I'm healthy. That's the only issue with me right now.
You can definitely live a long, healthy life on your HIV meds and transition. It's very possible that you can do that. It starts with you and what you're willing to accept about yourself. I wanted to live, and so I felt like that was something that I needed to do. I felt like that was something that I wanted to do. But what I needed to do is to take care of myself first.
As trans women, many of us, not just us, but our community, are also taking hormones. And there can be concerns about anything that might negatively impact, the effect of the hormones, including HIV treatment or prevention tools like PrEP.
When I decided to get on PrEP, my first question was about, hormone replacement therapy. And my doctor, because I was nervous because as we all know that hormone replacement therapy has its side effects, emotionally and physically. And I was wondering, are those side effects like deadly to mix with each other? When I found out that it was like it was basically like null and void, like there's no reason why I couldn't transition and be safe. I was hyped. I was happy.
That's why it's really important to kind of keep a close relationship with your doctor. When I came into my transition, I didn't know where to go and what resources there were available. So, honey, I got on the internet, Googled, and I started ordering there. And my HIV doctor, when he saw how I was wanting to transition so bad with me, with everything going on with me, that's when he decided to step up. And he consulted a colleague about hormone replacement therapy, and he ended up prescribing it to me. If he hadn't done that, I could have injected something in me that was just dangerous. Silicone or anything could have went to my heart, and I'd be sitting here. And so I think keeping a relationship with your doctor is super, super important. It's critical.
They'll prescribe you exactly what you need, and if you're not happy with it, they'll switch them right away. Right now, there's so many levels. There's estrogen, there's Premarin. They'll give you whatever your body's comfortable with. And if it's not working for you, they'll give you something that will work. And it will work versus taking something really risky.
This campaign is about being empowered to take control of your health, our health, and our lives. Where do we go from there? What next?
Continue to do what we're doing now and have this conversation, even if it's walking away, each individual one of us, to create that space wherever we go back to.
And us being here today, we're speaking for a lot of our people in our community, for a lot of the trans women in our community. And I feel like we are gonna see some results when we come back. We'll be able to say, you know what? I started this, join me, and we can all work on it together,
What gives you ladies hope for the future?
Love.
I second that.
What I really hope to see is keeping the hope alive for our trans women, especially those that are living with HIV who are afraid to come forward and think that they're alone. It is about empowering us to be together and to build together.
Well, I just want to thank you all for being so real, so brave, so courageous. It's been such an honor to be in the same space with you. Thank you.